In 2015, as part of their album Blurryface, 21 Pilots released a song entitled The Judge. While the song was never released as a single, it became quickly popular and was a fan favorite for quite some time. Now, looking back on this song from this point in the story, I can see that it is full of symbolism and clues which can serve to tell us more about the lore. But first, let us consider the name of the song. The Judge. Back many hundreds of years ago, when Old English was the common vernacular, there was a word which was used, a noun, to refer to a judge. What do you think that word was? Dema. Although probably at that time it was pronounced more like Dema, the word is nonetheless the same. Now, this word was used to refer to one singular judge. The plural form of the word was daemon, which is not all that far from sounding like demon, but perhaps that is a bit of a stretch. Regardless, the point remains that there is a clear connection between these words, between the concept of the city of Dema and the judge. It also appears to refer to Dema as a person rather than a city, addressing Dema itself and asking to be set free, which is interesting because Nico and the Niners does a similar thing, claiming that Dema don't control us. Not the bishops or even the system of vialism, but Dema itself. Now, I'm sure that this is done purely for the sake of poetic styling, but it is nonetheless interesting. And this link between Dema and Old English also got me thinking. Clearly, from what we've seen throughout their music and the lore, 21 Pilots, and perhaps Tyler Joseph more specifically, have an interest in language and the use of it, even creating their own words, such as Salu Folina in Bandito. So with the word Dema having its roots in Old English, roots which appear to tell us more about the story, perhaps there are other elements or words throughout this lore which have a greater meaning or further links than we originally understood. With that in mind, I set out to see if I could find any other connections between words or concepts found throughout the lore, which could provide us with potentially alternate or expanded meanings. Here are some examples I found. In Middle English, there was a form of gone, which was used as a noun. It was an alternative form of gome, which meant man. Perhaps this can give new meaning to the concept of the glorious gone. Yes, the gone are dead, but they are resurrected, in a sense, through seizing, and become men once again, or shadows of men, perhaps. Another interesting one is that in Old English, the word Ned can be translated to mean distress. To be fair, this is only when it is not being used as a name, in which case it would just be a shortened form of Edward. But still, perhaps one could argue that Ned comes to Clancy in his time of distress, when he is stranded and freezing on the island of Voldsoy. And also, I went and looked back through the pages of the digital remains, which is something which I haven't closely examined for several months now. And perhaps the most curious thing throughout this entire booklet is found on page 56. Next to the lyrics for Midwest Indigo, Tyler wrote the following: A-L-T-C-H. Alch. This stood out to me because it doesn't seem to fit into that song at all, and it also doesn't appear to be a real word. I spent some time looking to see if perhaps it had a meaning in another language, but I found nothing. However, this band does have a history of enjoying anagrams, so I decided to see if any possible words could be made from this combination of letters. And there was, but only one. Latch. This doesn't instantly signify anything to me, this word latch, but on a whim, I decided to go and look at the etymology of the word. It turns out that the word latch is derived from an Old English word, lycon, which means to seize, and a verb, which means to anoint or to smear. So does this mean that seizing and smearing are the same thing? Perhaps the practice is the same, but seizing is for the dead, and smearing is for those who are still alive. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this brief walk through some of the language of the story. Let me know if there are any other words you can think of, which might have interesting roots or alternate meanings. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for more music commentary and reviews.